Alright guys, today we are going to talk about starting the body for your air glider final copy. Alright, so essentially what we are doing, we are working with our manila folder here, and we are going to take our rough draft and get it drawn onto the final copy here. Now, the problem with doing our final copy is, guys, we don't have our grid paper like we did on our rough draft. So if you see your rough draft, okay, right here, you have the horizontal and vertical blue lines. So it kind of creates a problem here where we have to do this all by measuring, all right? And the way we have to do this in order to get our ruler straight is we always have to take two measurements when we go and measure to draw our line. So that way we know that both ends of our ruler are nice and straight right here. Okay, so everything we measure, we will measure twice, so you have two marks to line your ruler up with. So when it's all said and done, yours will look very similar to this right here. We are not going to draw the fins and the airfoil on this video. This video will only show you how to set up your body and then draw the two lines right here for the fins and airfoil. There'll be a second video for drawing out these right here. Now, the key to getting your final copy correct, number one, is make sure you're measuring very, very precisely. And then number two, make sure you draw nice, neat, clean lines. Don't let your ruler slip. Don't have double lines. Okay, pay attention to where you're measuring and make sure that yours looks like mine as you're going through this video right here. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Here is the folder that I gave you right here. So first thing we want to do, if you haven't done this yet, make sure in this tab area right here, you put your name and your hour up here. So name and hour, whichever hour you are in. Okay, now as far as the folder goes, okay, just to make sure you are orientated correctly, all right, when you get the manila folder, the small side of the folder, short side right here, that's the front. You can see the 3 scores down here at the bottom. Okay, we're going to be drawing on the inside right here. On the big area, it has the little Staples stamp right here to kind of help us out. So this is the area we are drawing on. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this front cover right here, and I'm going to fold it all the way back and around and just kind of crease it here. All right, so that way I'm working with my nice area right in here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is start creating my horizontal lines, okay, for my outline. So it's going to look very similar to this right here, where we will have 4 lines. We will go ahead and number those lines. So that way we can kind of communicate, okay, you're going to measure from line number 1, you're going to measure from line number 2. All right, so if you don't have those lines numbered, go ahead and do that. If you already passed this step, make sure you number the lines exactly where I got them, same numbers and everything else. All right, so we're going to start with this very top line right here. Okay, so then what we want to do from the top edge of our folder, we are going to measure down 1 inch. So here's what I want to point out. Here is our tab right here in the middle. Okay, I want to go to this next level down right here. Okay, on the right side, I'm going to line my ruler up. Now, make sure you are not using the end of the ruler right here. Okay, you use where your tick marks start. Like my first tick mark is right there. All right, that's what we call the 0 of the ruler, not the end of the ruler. Make sure you're using that first tick mark. All right. Also, kind of get your head right above the tick mark right there. Don't look from the side. Make sure you're measuring precisely right there. So I'm going to go 1 inch down right here, and I'm going to put just a small horizontal tick mark right there, 1 inch down from that top piece right there. Now, I'm also going to go over here to the left side right here and measure down 1 inch, because remember, you got to have 2 marks, so that way we can make sure we get our ruler nice and straight. All right, so now I measure down 1 inch, put my tick mark there. Now I have 2 tick marks. Okay, if you look, we are not just connecting the 2 tick marks right here. We are drawing this line all the way across the folder. Okay, so it stretches all the way across right there. All right, so basically what I want to do now is take my ruler, line it up with my 2 tick marks. Okay, I like to use the bottom of both tick marks. All right, don't have it on top of one tick mark and the bottom of the other. Make sure you put it with the bottom of the tick marks, and it stretches all the way across. Now, the other thing I like to do is I like to draw my lines vertical right here. So I'm going to turn my folder just like this, line my ruler up with the bottoms of my tick marks, hold the ruler nice and still, and draw my straight lines. Remember, a little help to drawing the straight lines. Okay, I don't like to hold my pencil way down here. I kind of do what's called, I choke up on that pencil, and then I just glide it along the ruler. And that kind of helps me keep a nice straight line going across there. All right, so this is line number 1, right here. It's an inch down from both those areas right there. Okay, now, line number 2, okay, is right here. We are going to measure down again from the top edge of our folder. We're always going to use the top edge of our folder. We're not going to use our last line. We're going to use the top edge. Okay, so I want to measure down from the top edge 5 inches. All right, so I'm going to take from this top edge right here on the right side, I'm going to measure down 5 inches. Okay, remember, an inch was our line number 1. Now I'm going to go down to 5 right here, put a tick mark, move to the left side from that top edge of my folder, put a tick mark there at 5 inches. Again, I like to turn my folder, line my ruler up with the bottom of the tick marks, draw my nice straight line there. All right, so now I have my second line. That is line number 2. And now I'm ready to move on to line number 3 right here. Okay, so line number 3 then, when we look at it from the top edge, we measure down 5.5 inches. Okay, so from the right side, going to the top edge, at 1 inch was line number 1, at 5 inches was line number 2, and now at 5.5 right there, okay, is line number 3. That's on the right edge. Now I put my second tick mark on the left edge, and then connect the bottoms of the tick mark. Make sure you're lining your ruler up with the bottom of your tick mark, not the top, not the middle. Bottom of your tick mark. Now this time I'm going to put the number 3 above the line I just drew. All right, and I'll explain why here in just a minute. Okay, so now I have line 1, line 2, line 3. Now I'm ready for line 4, which is down here at the bottom. Okay, my line 4 is 8.5 from the top edge. Okay, so from this top edge right here, I'm going to measure down 8.5. All right, so remember, 1 inch, line 1, 5 inch, line 2, 5.5, line 3. Now 8.5 right there is line 4. Do the same thing from right here. 8.5, and then draw that final line, lining up the bottom of the tick marks each time, not the tops, the bottoms. And now I'm going to put number 4 below the line. Okay, so now I have my 4 lines. Okay, line 1, line 2, line 3, and line 4. Put the 3 above it, the 4 below it. Now, if you look at these areas right here, the reason we kind of numbered them like we did is because where the body is at, okay, it stretches from line 1 to line 2. All right, so there's my line 1, there's my line 2. My entire body is right there. And then this area, this open area, is for my fins and my airfoil right there, that open area. Okay, so now that we have our 4 lines, we're going to go ahead and draw the body. All right, so I already have the top line of the body and the bottom line. That's line 1 and line 2. So now I need to draw this solid line, dash line, solid line, dash line, this dash line right here, and then this solid line right here. We are going to start with this solid vertical line right here. Okay, we're going to measure from the left edge of our folder over here on line number 1. Okay, so take your ruler, put your 0 on the left edge, and on line number 1, you are going to measure over 11 inches. So line number 1, measure over 11 inches, and this time I'm going to put a vertical tick mark right here at 11. Then I'm going to go down to line number 2. All right, so there's my vertical tick mark. I'm going to go down to line number 2, and I'm going to measure over 11 inches. Put my tick mark vertically on 11 inches, just on line 1 and line 2. Now I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to connect the left sides of both of those tick marks from line 1 to line 2 right there. I'm only connecting line 1 to line 2. Okay, now this little rectangle over here to the side, that is scrap. So I'm just going to scratch that out right there. Again, don't touch your line. All right, that way I know that my body stops right here. Okay, and this is all scrap. I will cut that out and throw it away. Also, this little section in the middle right here between line 2 and line 3 is scrap as well. I don't need any of that. We will throw that away. And then also down here at the bottom, underneath line number 4, that is scrap as well. All right, so I have my ending line on my body. Okay, now I'm going to work with this solid line and the dash line right there. Okay, my solid line here, guys, is a 1/2 inch down. All right, and it is 3 inches long. All right, so what I'm going to do first, okay, I'm going to measure from this left side of line number 1. Okay, and I'm going to turn my paper here a little bit. I'm going to measure a 1/2 inch down. So I put my 0 on line number 1, and I go a 1/2 inch down, right to there. Now I'm going to come all the way over to the end of my car right here. I'm also going to measure a 1/2 inch down, right there. There's my 1/2 inch mark. Okay, so I have my 1/2 inch mark there and my 1/2 inch mark there. Now, if you keep in mind here, all right, it's the same line. Like that's a 1/2 inch down, and this is a 1/2 inch down. The only problem is the first 3 inches are solid, then the rest is dashed right there. So what I'm going to do then, right here by my tick mark, I'm going to put my 0 on the left edge of my folder, and I'm going to measure over 3 inches. So right there. Okay, now I'm going to line my ruler up with this 1/2 inch tick mark on the left and the 1/2 inch tick mark on the right. The first 3 inches, all right, so from the left edge to this tick mark right here, I'm going to draw it solid. Then the rest is going to be dashed. All right, so line your ruler up with this tick mark that we just drew there. And then down there at the bottom, you can see it right there. And then the first 3 inches from the left edge to your 3 inch tick mark, you draw solid, then you draw dash marks. Try to keep the same size dash marks. Don't really care how big your space is or how big your line is. Just make sure they are dash marks like that right there. Okay, now my next step, if you look, okay, so I have the solid line, then the dash line. I'm going to do the same thing down here at the bottom. Solid line, dash line. It's a 1/2 inch up. All right, so from line number 2, I'm going to go up a 1/2 inch, up a 1/2 inch, and then I have to go over 3 inches. All right, so first thing I'm going to do, from line number 2 here, over here on the end of it, I'm going to measure up 1/2 inch and put a tick mark. So I measure up 1/2 inch, Here's my 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here on the left side. I'm going to measure up 1/2 inch. And now, from this left edge over here, I'm going to measure over 3 inches. So I take my ruler, right by that tick mark that I just made, put the 0 on the left edge of the folder, and I'm going to put a vertical tick mark right there. That should be kind of in line with that vertical line right there. Okay, so now I have my 1/2 inch tick mark up, my 1/2 inch tick mark up, 3 inches over right there. Remember, the first 3 inches solid, the rest dash. So line my ruler up with my 2 tick marks right here and right here. Draw the first 3 inches solid till I reach my tick mark, then dashed. Just like that. And then my last line is a dashed line that connects these 2 solid lines right here. So I'm drawing this dashed line right there. All right, so now I take my ruler. I already have the 3 inch tick mark there and there. So I just line my ruler up with those 2 tick marks, bottom of those tick marks, and draw a dashed line all the way across it, like so, right there. All right, and that is it for the body of the air racer. So to do the fins, these 2 fins and the airfoil, you will need to access the other video for the fins and airfoil final draft.